My name is Jet Hadaway. This is
Jonathan.
yeah. And so we are with Life Beyond the Room. We're a DMC based here out of Rome, and our focus is on sharing more off the beaten path and immersive type of experiences for our clients back home that are looking for something a little bit different than the typical tour guide or the typical cruise line or something like that. So we really dive in, and our focus is on partnering with locally owned businesses that really embody the character of the places that we're visiting, and at the same time are supporting local families. We're directing our tourist dollars right into the local economies, and we're supporting traditions that have been passed on from generation to generation. So we're doing this in a very unique style of travel. And so that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today with you guys as we go through our Mount Etna presentation today. We're going to be introducing you guys to some of our really amazing partners, talking a little bit about some of the experiences, some of the itinerary options. And then, of course, please, we do have a good number of folks on this today. So if you guys will just use the Q&A chat feature here, we'll do our best to field as many of your questions as we can along the way. And if we miss any, we have some time at the end, we'll make sure to address them then. All right, so we will go ahead and get things kicked off here. And again, thank you so much, Tracy, for spreading the word on this webinar.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's see. As I'm figuring out here we go. Perfect. All right. Great. So just for those of you that aren't as familiar, we'll talk a little bit about who we are. So again, like I mentioned, we are a full service DMC based here out of Rome. Oh, hold on. Do you guys see my screen okay?
I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure everybody sees it. Cool. All right. All right. I think we're good. All right. Oh, there we go. So again, guys, so as I was mentioning, we're a full-scale DMC based out of Rome. We do have our team is spread out all over Italy. We also have a couple folks based in the United States that work one-on-one with some of our travel advisor partners there. But for the most part, we're spread out in most of the regions here in Italy, with the idea that we are doing a lot of R&D. Obviously, we're doing a lot of travel design as a part of that. And our team, for the most part, are local managers. So we'll kind of get into that here now. So our local management team serves as the full-time concierge and point of contact for your client while they're in country. We do provide turnkey itineraries using Travefy as a platform. So for those of you that do use Travefy, it's a really easy platform for us to collaborate on itineraries with, and for our team to start integrating some of our experiences, accommodations, things like that, to kind of give you a full finished product by the time you're ready to present that to your clients. And again, our local management, our local managers rather, are living in destinations. So they have a very intimate knowledge of these experiences. We've personally vetted every experience and every accommodation that ends up in our itineraries and that we'll be presenting to you today. And so also Jonathan here is our full-time videographer, as well as many other hats that he wears here as our creative director. Yeah. So a lot of the content that we'll be showing you today.
Visual, I've had it during the lot of travel all around Italy. In this case, it's near the Mount Etna.
Exactly. All right. So we'll talk a little bit about, okay. How is all this working? All right. Sorry, guys. All right. So we'll talk a little bit about Sicily really quick. So more than 5 million visitors came to Sicily in 2023. This is just based on their annual tourism. Yep. And then of some of the most popular destinations, I'm sure you guys have seen that Sicily has really come on the map in the wake of shows like The White Lotus and other things that have started to really, bring and draw more attention to this area. Mount Etna is definitely one of the most frequented areas of Sicily. And of course, that includes the city of Catania is a big part of that. Taormina, I'm sure many of you have heard of Taormina. Taormina is one of the more tourist destinations. It's definitely one of the busiest destinations in Sicily right now, certainly Eastern Sicily. And then many of you have probably heard of Ortigia and Syracuse. Ortigia is the historic Greek port town located there just to the south of Taormina and Mount Etna. So all of these things are sort of on the eastern coast of Sicily. But today we're going to be really diving into Mount Etna and our partners there and what makes that area so special. So really quickly, I'm sure if you've paid any attention to the news lately, you've seen that there's a lot of volcanic activity with both Mount Etna and its sister volcano Stromboli, which is located in the Aeolian Islands, which is an archipelago just to the north of the island there. And so just a little bit about that, because I think a lot of folks, you know, we've heard a lot of questions about, is it safe to visit, right? What are the things that we have to keep in mind when going during an active eruption? So first of all, Mount Etna is the most active and one of the most monitored volcanoes in Europe. So it's not like this is a brand new thing for them. They see this activity every year. This is a little bit higher intensity eruptions than what they typically see every year, but it's certainly not uncommon and not unpredictable. So Etna is what's called a stratovolcano. So it's built up in layers. It's not as explosive as something you would see in, like, you know, everybody hears of Mount Vesuvius, right? And what happened to Pompeii. So there's an index of explosivity. So if you look at the volcanologist index, it's between 1 and 8, 8 being the most explosive and 1 being the least in terms of the intensity of eruptions. Mount Etna ranges between a 1 and a 2. And right now they're kind of between those two. So this is, yes, it's an active volcano, but it's one that if you're working with a proper guide that knows the lay of the land, they understand the landscape very well, it's a really easy thing for you to visit under the right guidance. So it's an amazing spectacle. During these kind of eruptions, of course, you get some interruptions with the accommodations there. You know, there's a lot of ash that is emitted. So you know, that might mean that they have to empty out some of the pools. That might mean there's a little bit of extra cleaning, right? But that same ash is what makes the soil so fertile for some of the
food, yeah.
Exactly, for some of these world-renowned wines that are developed on the slopes of Mount Etna.
And the food too.
And the food as well. Exactly. Tremendous amount of local agriculture
that's
there as
the
well.
volcano make the orange red. So that's
exactly. So just a little bit about like when to go. So best time to avoid crowds. Really, if you know where to go, this can be anytime. Mount Etna is a massive area. It's over 1,200 square kilometers, just the park alone. So there's a lot of variety. A lot of people are concentrated in just a few areas, just like most tourist sites, right? Like you've got Mount Etna. One of the most popular sites is the Silvestri craters. That's what most people associate with Etna. We work in a lot of different areas because we partner with people that are very, very familiar with not just hiking, but our main tour guide, Marco, is a part of the Etna rescue team. So he has a very intimate knowledge of every part of the volcano, as well as being able to monitor a lot of the activity, knowing where to go to see some of that activity in a safe way, but in a way that's completely away from the tourist crowds. And then, of course, just bearing in mind that a lot of these, there's a lot of vineyards on Mount Etna, right? We just kind of touched on wine, which we'll be going into a little bit later. So September, October, those are great times to consider for the grape harvest. So there's a lot of activity around that event as well. So that's a really great time of the year to go. We tend to send clients during that time of the year and they absolutely love it. And the weather is also fantastic right around that time. So we'll kind of lean into, you know, we talked about places to avoid, places to go. So just really quickly, when we're talking about the type of experiences that we provide, right? The picture on the left, these are the Silvestri craters. So when most people think about going on an Etna tour, right, this is where they're being sent to, right? So this is where most of the tour buses end up accessing, all the shuttles. So all of the big resorts, all of the big cruise lines, anybody that's coming in from a big tour operator, this is where they end up. And yes, it can be beautiful, but it is almost always crowded. You're going to have gift shops everywhere. You've got a couple restaurants there, lines and lines of tourists, guides all over the place. So yeah, it's a unique landscape, but it's not really giving you that type of immersive environment that you would otherwise have if you were a little more off the beaten path. So we tend to take our clients with our tour guides a little bit further out towards the Valle del Bove, which is where you're going to witness a lot more of the activity from a safe distance. And that's one of the pictures that you see on the right. This is one of the most beautiful shots that Jonathan here took with our drone during one of those trips.
This place is very, very amazing. I've been in both places, and like the fact you are alone in this area makes very a unique experience and make everything very different. I mean, you can feel the volcano and you are with your guide. He can tell you the story. Like, you are not in the middle of a lot of people. You are just alone with the volcano and your guide. That's very, very one of the best experience you can have in Sicily, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, so same place and completely different experience. All right, so as we usually do, and we start to kind of go over these things, we want to introduce you guys to some of the accommodations and a variety of experiences that we work with often and that we've vetted in these areas. So really quickly, as a preface to this, we use a brand score. So our brand score is anywhere from 1 to 5. We base this on a number of criteria. So those are sustainability, location and accessibility, character and sense of story, the amenities, obviously, and then the food and the culinary aspect of it is very important to us as well. So we bring all of these components into the brand score that we associate with each accommodation that we're going to present to you today. So we want to give you guys a variety of different accommodations, right? There's always a variety of needs that arise with your clients, whether they be small groups, couples, honeymooners, or families. So we want to kind of present to you guys a number of different options. So we're going to go ahead and start with one of our all-time favorites and one that we've been working with for the longest amount of time, and that is Barone di Villagrande. So this particular accommodation is actually located on a wine resort. It's right on Etna, and it's one of the oldest continuously operating vineyards on Mount Etna.
10 generations.
It's 10 generations consistent, and it's one of the most beautiful, stunning landscapes there is on the mountain. And so before I get into a little bit more on this accommodation, I'd love to just share this video with you guys. This is one of the partner videos that Jonathan has put together for us, and it'll introduce you to the accommodation and what they do.
Hello everyone, I'm Alfonso Caltagirone. I've been at Villagrande as the hospitality manager since 2016. Villagrande has been here for almost 3 centuries in the same family. We make wine, this is what we do for a living, but we also welcome people that want to try our wines with several different kind of experiences, and what we want to do is sharing a piece of the territory, a piece of the history of the territory, and a piece of the traditional pairings for our wines, which are wines of Mount Etna. So keep in mind, these wines are different, these are volcanic wines. Well, the Etna wines are absolutely apart if you consider the rest of the island, because they're wines of a mountain that partially faces the sea, and it's a volcanic mountain, so different soil, a lot of crispness in the wines, a lot of freshness. What we do here is, of course, letting the people that come try the real experience of a winery. So starting from the wine tastings with the wine pairings, because let's not forget that our wines are meant to be paired with food, and we go not only with the tradition and finding the ingredients from the area, but also reinvent a little bit the pairings in a new way. What we do is also giving a deep introduction to our guests, so they're ready to try the wines with a knowledge about them. What we do is also giving a harvest experience. It's not for everyone, so get ready, but it's a lot of fun, and it's followed by wine, so it's even better. Having been here for 297 years, what we do, what we try to do is to maintain what's the biodiversity in the fields, first of all, in order to maintain our fingerprint. So Villagrande has always been here with the field blend we have both for whites and reds, and this is replicated even when we need to go and replant part of the vineyard. Other than that, in the winemaking, our aim, and Marco Nicolosi's aim, that's 10th generation and winemaker of the winery, is to bring in the bottle the outcome of the season and the identity of the variety. What we try to do is that we barely touch the grapes in the cellar in order to maintain this identity, and this is of the absolute importance to us. So here we are at the Resorts Garden. We got 4 rooms here. This area is entirely reserved for the guests staying with us, and we're particularly proud of this little piece where our guests can relax, chill out, and just think about having fun. That's the most important part to us.
Awesome. All right. Awesome, guys. With that, let me see if I can move this. There we go. Go back to here. Perfect. So Barone di Villagrande, again, is just one of our favorite places to work with. As you guys saw, it's got this amazing view over the vineyard that overlooks the sea. And then behind you, so you can see it here a little better, behind you, you have the volcano. So during this time, you actually can see a lot of that volcanic activity, especially at night. And right in front of you is the sea and the vineyards that are terraced out, and it's just an amazing place to be. It's an incredible
in the morning
place
it's
to stay.
incredible because you have the sunrise in front of you, so you have this experience. It's very unique.
And this is a boutique accommodation, guys. So we're looking at I believe this is 4 rooms. Yep, so 4 rooms. A few of which overlook the terrace, and it's just a really, really cool place that's kind of separate from the main restaurant and vineyard. So they have full access to all the amenities, but they have their own kind of private area to hang out as well. So really, really great option on Mount Etna, super accessible to everything there as well. So another option that we want to introduce to you guys is Monaci delle Terrenere, and they are actually a Relayan chateau. Some of you guys may have heard of this place before. Again, this place is very close to Barone di Villagrande. It's in Zaffarana. So it's about the same elevation, maybe a little bit higher, but this is really a 5-star hotel, beautiful experience, 24 rooms, but they're all separate kind of villas, and they're spread around about 60 hectares of vineyards and organic gardens. So they have a full farm to table program, a full wine program, and it's just an amazing emphasis on sustainability. A lot of these villas are completely solar powered, as well as geothermal. So they've introduced a lot of sustainable aspects into the architecture, as well as being conscious of those same kind of components when it comes to their food. This is a really great location for honeymooners, small groups, and definitely events. They have a fantastic event center as well. So if you guys have anybody that kind of fits that category, this is a really, really wonderful location. And again, super accessible to a lot of the other activities on the mountain. And then we'll go into our next accommodation, which is Palazzo Privitera. This is a really unique accommodation. Again, very boutique, 4 rooms, 2 cottages. This is located in a town called Lingua Glossa. I'm still working on my Italian.
You are great. You are great.
Thank you. So this is actually on the other side of the volcano. So a lot of what we just showed you was on the south side. This is actually going to be on the north side. So there's a whole different set of activities here. This is a really great little town, super walkable. It's right in the center of town. This is a very quintessential Etnan like municipality. So there's a couple like really cool little restaurants, a couple little shops, but very walkable and very accessible to a number of other places. This place is like a private museum. It is a historic residence or a palazzo, and it's been maintained and restored to its original state, along with a lot of the original furniture. But there's an emphasis on art here. So as you're walking through, it's almost like a labyrinth of rooms that each one has a little bit of a different character and tells a little bit of a different story, but it's a very quintessential look into some of the historic aristocracy of this area and these little towns in the region. So it's very much embodies the sense of place and character that we want our clients and your clients to really understand when they're in these places, is to understand also the history of them. So this is a fantastic place for that. Again, it's a B&B style, so not a full-scale hotel, but they do serve breakfast, and it is a serviced B&B. So great for honeymooners, small families, as well as any kind of exclusive rental. Because it's 4 rooms, it can easily be done that way as well. And then our final accommodation that we want to introduce to you guys, this is an amazing place that Jonathan and I had a great opportunity to spend 2 weeks at this summer. So Rocca delle Tre Contrade, this is actually a private villa. It's quite large, so it's 12 rooms, but this building was at one point a wine cellar. So this was an active vineyard. It wasn't a residence at the time. It was a building specifically built to process and store wine on the vineyard. And you can see Mount Etna right behind it. So again, this is another accommodation that's sort of wedged between the volcano and the sea. So it has this amazing arid landscape with this breeze and this volcanic soil. It's surrounded by gardens, and the amenities in this place are just incredible. So Rocca delle Tre Contrade, being that it is a private villa, they do have 1 week minimum stay. So these are great. This is a great opportunity or option for small groups that are looking to stay a little bit longer and do a little bit more of an immersive type stay, whether it be adventure travel, culinary focused. They also have a full staff, so it's fully serviced. That includes a private chef. So all of those things can be added on as the group sees fit. And they also have the ability to host workshops and group trips, things that are focused on either culinary, wellness. So if you or any of your clients have a desire to lead that kind of more immersive retreat type of trip, this is a wonderful platform to do it in. Yeah, just an amazing, amazing location. So we'll move right along, guys. Let's talk a little bit about some of the experiences that we offer in these areas and what makes them special. So first and foremost, we did talk a little bit about the wine harvest. Jonathan, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Because you've had a little more experience with the wine harvest.
Yeah, I spent two time in Sicily during the wine harvest, and it was very unique experience because the client have the possibility to do the harvest, to learn about the process, and to understand how the wine is making, and that's make a big difference for them after, because when you do the harvesting during the day and after during the dinner you try the wine, you can feel very the difference for the clients. And I think it's very unique experience because you learn about the process, so it's very, and you have the opportunity to spend time with local people and to learn how they live. I think it's very a good way to learn about the Sicilian way.
And then of course you get the wine tasting afterwards.
Yeah,
So you get to actually see the previous vintage of what you're harvesting.
They are not working all the day.
Right, right. And Etna wines are very different too, right? This is a totally different environment with a different set of standards, a different set of traditions, many of which have continued on for generations. And one of the reasons they can do that is because of these type of events where we're able to support a lot of that business through sustainable tourism. So this is a good example of that, right? So Bronte Pistacchio experience. So
have you heard about Bronte?
So Bronte, Bronte is where the coveted pistacchio from Bronte come from, right? So this is where a lot of
the most famous in the world.
When you hear about Sicilian pistacchio, right? This is where most of that's coming from. And so these trees are incredible. You can see them on the picture on the bottom there. They are basically growing all over the volcanic rock.
They grow only on the volcano rock. That's why this place it's very amazing. I went there during the winter, and the landscape was like, I can describe it. It's looked like the moon, like the picture, the last picture. It's very impressive. It's a unique view.
And the way they harvest these is really, really unique experience because for one, it's only a harvest that happens once every 2 years. Although you can still have the experience and they can still walk you through the whole thing and have you try a lot of the pistachio products and things like that they make in-house. During the off season, it's still an amazing thing to learn how these things are harvested because of course it's all by hand. Nothing's mechanical. You have to actually climb through a lot of these groves to get to the pistachio. As soon as you touch the branch, they all fall off. So you have to be very careful how you're navigating through it. And it's all done by hand. So it's a very labor intensive thing. But it's a labor of love. And the couple that's involved in this project are really remarkable. They have an amazing story. Sonia and Federico, her boyfriend. Sonia is a husband.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So maybe their husband now. But But Sonia is a coveted winemaker in the region. She's done some really incredible things on Etna with some sort of backyard vineyards, which have started to kind of go into disrepair. She's come in and repaired a lot of them for these folks, for some of the residents there, and has created an entirely new brand of wine around that movement. And then her boyfriend Federico runs this pistachio farm, which is only done in the traditional way. So it's a really amazing experience. This is on the north side of Etna, so this is a great place on the side.
It's truly an authentic experience. It's not like it's not a touristic experience.
Yeah, it's very, very cool, very different. All right, and of course, everybody always asks about the hike on Etna, right? So the good thing to know about hiking Etna is there's a lot of different options. We did talk about the one option of Silvestri Crater, which is the sort of tourist hotspot. This is still something to consider only if you've got folks that have very severe mobility issues, or maybe there's a very large group that they want to stay together, and maybe not everybody's at the same level. So that can be an option if it's just a quick day trip and they just want to see some of the craters and not really take a more immersive dive into it. We recommend doing a private guided hike. And this is done in that Valle del Bove, which I talked about earlier, which is a really kind of off the beaten path area, but it's one of the most beautiful landscapes on the entire volcano. And it's something that a lot of people don't really get to see. So we have private trails that we access through our guide, where we're able to bring you into this landscape that's just completely unique and incredible. And of course, there are a variety of different hikes that can be done. So depending on everybody's skill level and mobility
experience. Yeah.
Completely customizable, up to the level of even having a Jeep ride. So our same guides that we work with also offer 4x4 and Jeep rides up to closer to the summit, so you can get a little bit higher up. So again, another great option for folks that want a little variety in that experience. So that this experience can be tailored to whatever need that your clients might have.
Yeah.
So one of our favorite experiences, this is, and many of you have probably heard of the home restaurant experience, right? This is one of the most incredible home restaurants that we found in a little town called Milo. And this is actually very, very close to Barone di Villagrande, the first winery accommodation that we shared with you earlier. So Carmencita is this wonderful little Italian woman who has turned her home she's very Sicilian, and she's turned her home into a home restaurant, and that is just for private groups. So what you see here is just a small group of folks that went, and she is one of the most amazing hosts. Her husband is actually a composer and a piano player. So there's a piano in the room as well, so you can also have some of that experience. But it's one of the coolest ways to really get to experience true Sicilian cuisine in a real Sicilian home.
Yeah, and story too.
And the story and her story. So we're not gonna ruin that for you. We want you guys to just take a quick peek. We've got Carmencita here that's she's telling her story and talking a little bit about the experience.
Salve, sono Carmencita, ho 58 anni e vivo a Milo da una decina d'anni. Circa 3 anni fa, pensando che mi è sempre piaciuto cucinare non tanto per me quanto per chi mi sta accanto, per gli amici e la famiglia, feste, compleanni, eccetera, eccetera, ho pensato di aprire questo home restaurant. Home restaurant perché apro la mia casa, accolgo i miei ospiti, cerco di metterli a loro agio in maniera da sentirsi in casa loro, cerco di esaudire tutti i loro desideri, cucino per loro i piatti della tradizione siciliana tipici, quelli più conosciuti nel mondo, la pasta col sugo alla trapanese, molto fresco ma molto saporito, fatto di pomodoro crudo, tagliato molto sottilmente, dell'aglio, del basilico e delle mandorle pestate al mortaio. Oppure involtini alla palermitana, carne di manzo tagliata molto sottilmente, panata con del pangrattato e del parmigiano e farcito sempre con del pane tritato e formaggio leggermente piccante. Un sapore semplice ma un profumo paradisiaco. Mi piace trasmettere la cultura siciliana, in particolar modo la cucina, ma accogliendo gli ospiti racconto anche i mestieri, i lavori, ciò che si faceva in passato, ciò che mi hanno insegnato i miei familiari, ciò che mi ha trasmesso mia nonna, persino i ricami che faccio e che mi ha appunto insegnato mia nonna. Non avrei potuto fare home restaurant se non con l'aiuto di mio marito, Giuseppe, che oltre ad aiutarmi nel servire i piatti agli ospiti, li delizia con qualche musica, con qualche improvvisazione. Chi viene all'home restaurant viene a fare un'esperienza e a conoscere la Sicilia dal punto di vista culinario, ma sotto tutti gli aspetti. E l'accoglienza che il popolo siciliano sa dare e che soprattutto aprendo le nostre case riusciamo a dare a chi ci viene a trovare, a chi preferisce fare un'esperienza vera e diretta.
Awesome.
I think this is the definition of sensorial experience.
Yeah, no, this is if you guys haven't noticed, Southern hospitality is a pretty universal concept. So Carmencita and Giuseppe are just fantastic people. They're so loving, so welcoming, and they really do give your clients the best version of what it is like to live in Sicily. So it's just a very unique experience and something we highly, highly recommend if you're in that area. All right. So for our adventure lovers, we've got a really, really cool experience that not a lot of people get to hear about, at least not a lot of American tourists. So this is Gole
Dell'Alcantara.
dell'Alcantara. Thank you. So this is a really cool experience because, again, this is a little bit scalable to everybody's skill level. So it ranges from just a visit to the gorge and just sort of a hike through that's a little bit more leisure, all the way to canyoning, which is something Jonathan is going to speak a little bit about because that's something he did recently.
Yeah. So I did that like this summer. It was a great experience because it was a little bit warm because it was summer, and you have the possibility to do that, and that's very incredible because you are near the sea, but you are near the mountain, and you start to do this. I mean the body rafting, so it was very an adventure, and it was a great experience, something very different to do in this area. Was great.
So I'll give you an example of kind of what it's like. When you walk in, this is basically like a canyon. It's a very deep canyon. It's more of a gorge, right? So on either side of you, you've got walls that are probably 50 to 100 feet high. So you can't really see out of it. So you're in this totally immersive environment. The water that's flowing through it is crystal clear.
Yes.
It's a little chilly, but it's crystal clear.
Yeah, but
and
it's
you're
good.
walking on rocks and you're kind of walking upstream, right? So you're going upstream. As you can see, these guys, you've got a couple little rapids that you kind of come up onto.
There is some jump, but you can avoid the jump if you don't want. But if
Right.
you want, you can do the
So
jump.
this experience is guided by one of their professional guides. You're fully geared out and you're walking up this stream, and what you have around you is not just cliffs. These are some of the most unique geological structures I've ever seen, and they look like geometric patterns all over the rock. This ancient like lava rock and granite that has been shaped into these amazing formations. It's really like no environment I've ever seen. So it's a very, very cool experience. If somebody's into something that's a little bit more intrepid and off the beaten path, this is a really, really cool day trip option for people. And it's kind of close to Taormina. It's sort of on the way. So this is a really good combination for like a Taormina lunch and then doing something like this afterwards, or vice versa. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what some of the more popular itineraries look in this area. And this is just to kind of give you guys a snapshot. You know, if you've got people that are just really interested in the culinary aspect, whether it be food and wine or if you've got folks that are really more interested in a more just adventure-focused trip. And then, of course, your basic leisure type of itinerary, which mixes a few of these components into everything. So we want to just kind of go over these in a little, and these, again, these are just quick snapshots, but we want to give you guys an idea of some of the variety that there is to offer just on Mount Etna itself. And of course, oftentimes we find that Etna is just one stop on the itinerary, right? So this may be only a couple, 3 to 5 night destination within a broader Sicily itinerary, but we want to give you guys an idea of what that looks like. So, food and wine, obviously we have everything from cooking classes at a variety of the accommodations, but Barone di Villagrande is one of them. We have an amazing street food tour of Catania, which is really one of the most unique cities on the island. And it has it's very steeped in culinary tradition of its own. So it's a really amazing place to see that. And it's a little bit of a larger city, so it kind of gives you some contrast for some of these other small towns in the area. Vigna Casadecima, perfect. Thank you. I've been working on that one. This is a really amazing vineyard that we didn't really get to dive into today, but this is located again on the northern side of the mountain, so where the Bronte experience is. And this place is absolutely amazing. They've partnered with the University of Catania to host a lot of the endangered species of grape variety in the area, many of which are endemic to Mount Etna itself. And so they're producing some of the most top quality wines in the region and in the country. And they're coveted all over the world. But this is actually a combination of a dinner wine tasting and a stargazing event where they bring a local astronomer out to because this is actually the highest vineyard on Mount Etna in terms of elevation. So it's got the clearest skies. They've done a fantastic job of preserving the place. It's a beautiful experience, great experience for couples as well as for small groups. I think they can host up to 12 or 14, I think 14. So really cool experience there. And then of course the wine harvest, if you guys come in sort of September, October range, it's a great opportunity to get involved in some of the wine harvesting activity and learn a little bit more about how they do that, what makes it unique for that area. And then Carmencita's home restaurant, we talked a little bit about that and kind of diving into more of the local cuisine and then getting to meet and mingle with people that live there. And then the pistachio farm experience that we kind of touched on earlier as well. So there's a lot of food and wine opportunities to incorporate into a really focused itinerary just on Mount Etna alone. That's not to consider all the other places.
It's going to be a special one for the pistachio because it's the year of harvesting.
So next year is the harvest year.
Yes,
exactly. So that's a really cool opportunity for people to get an insight into some of that. So adventure. So, I mean, obviously this is a mountain. This is it's an active volcano. There's a lot going on. There's a tremendous amount of variety in terms of adventure travel. So if you got people that are really interested in that kind of thing, there's a lot of variety here for them. So Etna hikes, again, these hikes offer things from what we just talked about with these sort of slower hike or even the 4x4 experience all the way up to very advanced hikes that can be anywhere from 5 to even 8 hours long in some cases if you want to summit. Some of that's not available when the volcano is active. Obviously, when you have an eruption going on, there's very strict limits on where you can go. But for the most part, there are a huge variety. Like I said, it's a massive mountain, it's a massive volcano. So there's a lot of variety of hiking that can be done. And then there is a tremendous road and mountain biking scene on Mount Etna. So some of the roads on Mount Etna are absolutely stunning. There's a lot of switchbacks, a lot of winding. One of our clients did I think a 50-kilometer road ride that was, he said, one of the most fun he's ever done because again, you're on a volcano, so it's one of the most unique environments you can be in. In some cases, you're above the clouds, so you're really in a really unique place. And then the mountain biking excursions, tons of mountain biking trails. We've got some fantastic partners that can do that. Some of those obviously can be e-bikes if that's something they prefer. And these can be anywhere from, a half day to 3 or 4 days long. So if you've got people that are really intrepid, that are like, I'm down for, a full-on 8-day, mountain bike excursion and I want to camp, like that's something that we can absolutely work with, as well as incorporating some of these accommodations that we talked about with you today. So a lot of that's customizable. We talked about the canyoning, which is a really unique, definitely a unique experience on Mount Etna. One of the cool things about this location is that you've got the port town of Riposto, which is just down the hill. And so that's where a lot of the sailing excursions depart from. So we've got some great private sailing experiences, one of which can take you all the way to Taormina and back. And that one in particular, we have a sommelier on board. And so they can be talking to you a lot about some of the local wines and pairing it with some of the foods and kind of having this whole culinary and wine experience on board. And then obviously the waters of Sicily, as you guys probably know, are just absolutely gorgeous. So depending on what time of year you go, diving and snorkeling is always a great option there. And then we've talked about some of the 4x4.
You can do that
in
in October too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. You
That's
get the
super
wetsuit and
cool.
it's fine. It's not really that cold.
You can do the harvesting and after go
Yeah.
into the
Well, and
sea.
obviously too, I mean, you know, it's definitely not the destination for that, but if you have people interested in it in the winter, there is skiing. So there's a there's actually 2 ski locations on Mount Etna. So you could ski in the day and you could be laying on the beach in the afternoon. So that's something that people do as well. So if you have folks that are interested in that, that's definitely an opportunity for them too. And then, you know, you start mixing some of these things together, your basic leisure trip, you know, let's say 3 nights for a honeymoon. It's a fantastic stop. You know, if they have another couple stops in Sicily, Etna's definitely worth at least 3 nights if they can swing that. You know, there's a ton of history, obviously, the street food tour in Catania that we've talked about. You know, guided tour of Taormina. Taormina is very accessible. You know, it's a very busy place. So depending on what they're looking for, we love for people to stay a little bit off the beaten path if they can, but you still have accessibility to it. You know, it's only it's to many of the accommodations, it can be only a 30 to 40-minute drive. And then, you know, again, the Etna hikes are always a big part of these experiences. And then lots of food and wine pairings. There's just a tremendous wine scene on Etna. So it's a great place for couples, great place for honeymooners and the like. So there's a lot of variety in what you can do just in this one area of Sicily. And we hope you guys will explore that further with us as we can find ways to partner together. Let's see. So that leaves us to just a little bit of Q&A, guys. But really quick, we do have our next webinar wherein we'll be talking about off the beaten path Amalfi Coast as well as off-season Amalfi Coast. It is one of the most popular markets here. It's one of the busiest areas for tourism. So depending on where you go, that can make or break your experience. So we'll be talking a lot about obviously introducing you to some of our partners and some of our accommodations, but also giving you guys some alternatives in terms of times of the year and locations to go where you still have access to Positano and all those main locations. But let's go ahead and open the floor up for any questions that you guys might have. So feel free to type anything in the Q&A and we'll be happy to answer them as they come in, if you have any.
You can talk.
No, I don't think so. Let's see. Might do this. Okay, how can we sign up for other webinars? Yep. Okay. So we'll talk a little. Thank you, Amy. So great question. How can we sign up for other webinars? On the website, it has a travel advisor login. Should we continue to set up through there? How does this process work? So we'll talk a little bit about that really quick. So basically, if we haven't worked with you before, we ask that we set up just a quick introductory call where we can kind of learn a little bit more about your business, talk a little bit more about our process and how we work with itineraries. The best way to do that is through our DMC website. We do have a travel advisor request form. And there is no login to that website either. So it's public to you guys. So you should be able to access it. But after this webinar, we'll be sending you guys an email with a link to that form. So if you'd like to get in touch with us and just kind of talk a little bit more, even if you have an active itinerary that you have in mind that you want us to start working on with you or considering, we still ask that we just have a quick intro call just so that we can kind of walk through some of the details, answer any main questions, and then we'll provide you with the actual itinerary request form. So we'll be sending that link to you guys after this webinar, as well as the link for the next webinar, which is on the Amalfi Coast. And then if you guys want to sign up for our newsletter, our travel advisor newsletter, that's a great way to stay informed on new webinars, upcoming R&D trips, anything like that that we're featuring. We'll add that link there as well. And then as well as the registration for that next webinar. So that's typically how we work. But yeah, we like to have that first intro call just so we can kind of flesh out any details and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. We have another question. What is that? Answered. Okay, sorry. Make sure we're getting to all these. Okay, will you guys be coming over to Palermo anytime soon? Yes, we do work in Palermo. That is not, so we were just focusing on Etna for this particular webinar. So we will likely be developing a webinar with certainly southern Sicily. I know Noto and Marzamemi and a lot of those places we really want to focus on. And then at some point, I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit more about Palermo and that region up there.
Scopello, there is,
yeah, exactly. So we've done a good bit of work up there.
Island
Exactly.
where,
So one of the things that we try and do, guys, is before we do these webinars, we really try and develop some of the content so that we can share with you some of the one-on-one interactions with our partners, so you get a more visceral sense for what it's like. So that takes obviously a little bit of time and a little bit of Jonathan's traveling.
yeah.
So
There is,
as we
a
get
lot
out there and as we develop those more, you'll be seeing those coming for sure. Sicily is a huge market. It's a very, very busy place with a lot of variety and a lot of diversity. So we want to make sure and we cover each of them with ample time so that we're as thorough as possible and we really give you guys some insight into what makes each of those regions of Sicily different. So we'll definitely be getting around to that. And if you join our newsletter, we'll make sure that you stay in the loop on those. Right, let's see. Any other questions, guys? Ah, there you go. Karen already answered that. Perfect. All right, wonderful. I tried a Mount Etna gin. Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I've tried a Mount Etna gin, but I've heard of them. Yeah, that's pretty cool. They probably, yeah, I think they use some of the grape skins to distill. They do it from grappa sometimes. I've heard that. All right, guys, excellent. Let's see. Well, wonderful. Thank you guys again so much for your time and for being a part of this webinar and for being a part of this new way of traveling sustainably, slowly, and supporting our local partners. We're excited to talk to you guys again for the next one. So we'll be talking about the Amalfi Coast, like I mentioned. In the meantime, just look out for our follow-up email where we'll have all of those links that we talked about for you. And you can always go to our website at lifebeyondtheroom.com/DMC, where you can find out more information about upcoming webinars, some of our partners, and how to get in touch with us to schedule a intro call. So thank you again, Tracy. Thank you so much. We appreciate being a part of this, guys.
My pleasure. Thank you guys. That was great.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.